welcome to my channel. Well, we're going to talk about fixed blade knives. As you can see, I was really going to go a little bit more in depth on some of the things that I'm noticing on my newest acquisition, the BK18. But before we get into this, now, I'm going to leave a timestamp to when I'm actually get back to talking to this, because I know some people get annoyed about that. So once I've finished editing this and everything, I'll know what it is, and I'll put a timestamp out there. But I want to acknowledge something, and that is the support I get from this community is not just with knives and stuff. It goes beyond that, and it's something that amazes me sometimes. I just want to say that whenever somebody sends me something or gives me something in any way, it doesn't matter what the value of it is. I really appreciate that, you know. The hand-stitched leather slips and stuff like that people have sent to me, and just things like that, you know, you'd look at it, and if you would look at it and say, well, that doesn't cost much. No, it's the idea that someone took the time, that they actually thought of you and got something for you, you know, like a special gift. And that happens a lot on this channel. And if I don't acknowledge you all the time, what I'm doing is I like to keep people anonymous, especially the ones that do large and generous gifts and stuff, because many times those people do not want to be associated with somebody who did that just to get a bunch of attention. They are doing that to help. You know, they don't want it to be about them. And I understand that and I respect that. So when people send me gifts and stuff, sometimes they say, it's okay, you can say my name on the channel if you want, you know. It's okay, I'm fine with that. And I will. But if they say they don't want it up there, I won't. And a lot of times it's partially because of memory and everything else. But I don't remember right away. I have to go back and look in videos who sent me a gift sometimes. And I'll try to acknowledge it. But a lot of times I either won't mention it, or I'll just say it was an anonymous person. Wait a minute, I gotta stop this. There's an issue going on with the animals right now. I'll get back to this video. About that interruption, I've become like the neighborhood watch community resource guy or something. I don't know, but they come to me for the problems now. But someone left a Chihuahua in the mailroom last night. Well, I know who left him there. He found him running around and put him in the mailroom because it's at least warm in there. And I talked to the guy. He said they texted, you know, the same guy I'm texting about the cats, Thomas. They texted him last night that they put him in there, and nothing happened. Nobody got it or anything. So I just got a message from, that was a message, the maintenance guy, that says, did anybody come pick up that dog? And I said, I don't know, you know, I'll go look. So now the dog's still sitting there. And then he sent me back a message that I don't understand people. A lost dog, and they have it up on a message board, and they won't even answer their messages, and they won't reply when you get a dog back and everything. But that's what I had to solve. You know, I can't go.
The actual knife discussion occurs now.
Go check on the dog. Yeah, he's still in there. So what I wanted to talk about was, we got a bunch of fixed blades here. Something fell down. That doesn't sound heavy as what fell down. It has a heavier sound. We'll find out later. There's something on this knife. I was just looking at it a little bit closer, and that's what this is after just having this for a couple of days and looking at it. Some of the things that I noticed about it compared to my other harpoon knives. Harpoon fixed blade knives. Alright, so first off, you look at this and you say, oh, you know, that's just a strap. You know, that's just a strap. No big deal. What's wrong with that? I've seen those before. They're on things like this. You see what happens when you do this? It's leather. It just stays right there. Look what this one's doing. It's because they put a little piece of metal or something, plastic or metal, that causes it to want to flex open. So that when you open it, when you undo the snap, it pow moves it out of the way. You may not think about that, but that's just kind of a neat little design. Somewhere where I think, this is very sturdy webbing here, like seatbelt webbing, very tight mesh and everything. It's not, you have to put it through the loop. So I think what they could have done here, it made it optional. Maybe they just go in completely for strength. But you see where this seam is right here? That's where they stitched this over there. What I'm going to do is unstitch that joining thread through there and put some hook and loop Velcro on there. Now normally I don't like Velcro because it's, makes that noise and it wears out eventually and all that other crap. But in this capacity, with that flap already folded like that, it's just got to hold it like this. When you're pulling, there's not a super huge amount of force going this way, when you're doing stuff. When you're pulling your knife out or putting it in is when it would be the most stress, when you're putting it in. And as long as you put up enough Velcro to secure it and still have the belt loop open enough, you will have the ability to remove and install this without taking your belt off. Oh, that's a big pet peeve of mine. If I have to do that, I know it's, you didn't have an option. It's like, you're just going to have to put your, there's no way you just can't do it. And then this started coming along, and yeah, there we go. Now I can just slide it on. It's easy to clip on. This would be kind of a combination like the Cold Steel series where they have a flap that comes over and then it's got Velcro on it and sometimes a little button snap. I mean, that's okay, but I can never get the button snap to line up just properly. And usually just the Velcro alone is enough for this. Alright, another thing is, these are not super critiques or anything about it. There's a lot more force required to put that in than it is to take it out. The pull-out tension is great. I mean, excellent. I'm not saying like it's a great amount of force. This is kind of a bulky setup. I was looking at it as if I was going to, it's got an area here where I could possibly carry it. The problem is I'm going to have way too much handle sticking out. Way too much handle. This is approaching too much handle already. And then you see how much my hand can get on that. That's about the most size. This is about perfect for me. Perfect size. Not too big, not too small, but just right. And that's the whole thing behind this. When you get a lot of different knives and everything, is variety and selections and finding out what's right for you. Not what's right for Joe Schmo, the YouTube reviewer that's got 2 billion followers and he's an expert on everything. He's not an expert on what's good for you. He might be an expert on what's good for the majority of people, but you are the only person that's an expert on what's good, a good knife for you and a good carry system. I think a taco sheath would probably be better, but there's nothing wrong with this one. This is actually perfectly fine. I like this sheath. Like I said, the only modification I'm going to do is just make it so that I can pull this on off. There's no need for this flap right here. That's the only other downside I could say to that is unless you snap it, it's going to be out, bang, 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 bang. And I've been wearing it like that. And this will kind of snag. It'll fall back off, but it'll hang on things. It'll knock stuff off tables and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the sheath. You got, drain hole like you would expect. Plenty of mounting operations. You can actually run a regular belt right through here, mount it like that if you want. But even with this method right here, I put it on like my right back pocket is where this would be laying. And I carry another belt, another knife and up front, and I've gone back to the little harpoon. Now, as far as the design of the harpoon and everything, this one you have to be very careful with. Ask me how I know. This one right here, It's much more forgiving of something like that. It's the same way with these SE knives and stuff. And you've got a finger choil up here that's non-sharpened. There's no way you're really going to mess. Now here, you might. But even then, see how they slope that? They slope that angle to make it with the curve of your finger. Even though this is slanted, you see how they made that a nice sharp edge right there? I say that's a design thing that doesn't have to be there. And because it's there, it's an opportunity to cut yourself. I'm not talking liability lawsuit or any of that crap, you know. I'm not talking any of that. I'm just saying, as far as designs go, there's good designs. You know, I like everything about this knife, except that. And I'm going to take a file to that and fix that. All you have to do is you can just, instead of making this a 90-degree angle with this right here, you slope it off. You can still sharpen that edge right there, but you're not losing much. You just take off that chunk right there. Right? You can still have that sharp, so that what I like about knives like this is the material you're cutting. You see how it ramps it up and allows it to stay engaged with the cutting edge. If you get a choil, now you poke me. See how you poke me in the finger. If you get a choil like this and you're holding back here, you see how the edge is, the material is going to come up to non-cutting, you know, if you're ramping like this. And so it's going to snag. So to prevent that, you have to put your finger up here. Now, with ESSE, you can get the handle modified version, right? With this one right here, you don't have to worry about that. It's great. Now, another thing I wanted to mention about this, I'm going to put these guys back in, especially this one. I have to put this one back in his sheath right away. Where is your sheath? We'll just put up sheaths as we come to them. There you are, over there. I never replaced that yet. I just stayed with one of those snaps came loose, and I lost the other piece to it. Not this piece, but the snappy piece right here. I lost that. And I don't have ones that are like that, so I have all the rest of this missing that. And it just came loose because I failed to tighten it down or put Loctite on it, so I use this guy instead. Now, although it's fixed though, now I have to take my belt on and off to put this thing on. Unlike this one, where I can just snap it on, snap it off. I'm just checking to see if this... Yeah, that would not work on this. You see how wide that... You have to make your own individual straps for these like this, but that's if you want to carry it this way. And like I said, I'm not going to carry it. I'm going to carry it on my hip. Alright, so that's one thing. Let's move on to something else. And this is what I was afraid it was going to be. I was afraid it was going to be a BK2 that's been shaped into a harpoon. I like the BK2. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it, like you said, like I said before, knives are specialized tools, and one of the specialized things is like the SE5. The BK2 is a lot like the SE5. They're these overbuilt, sturdy, almost indestructible type of knives that anything you can imagine that would be knife abuse for another knife would not be abuse for one of these. You know, because they can and have handled a lot of crap. But with that comes a lot of weight and a lot of times an obtuse thick angle here. You're getting more into a chopper, you know, the weight and everything else that you're carrying around. This guy is more like a knife. It's more like what I would expect a knife to be. Lightweight. I'll get the weight on it here in a little bit, or I'll put the specs up. But it's very lightweight. It's thinner in the handle. That's another thing I was worried about. Look how thick. I mean, this is a thick puppy here. There's nothing wrong with this one. It fits my hand, but it's for this knife. That's a good handle for this knife. For this one here, this actually feels like this swell could be deeper. You know, I mean, I got, like I said, small hands, and he didn't clean his fingernails. Yeah, I didn't clean my fingernails before this. But I like it to have a little bit more swell in there, although I can control it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's nimble, it's lightweight, it's agile. You get all those little adjectives or whatever, or adverbs. I don't remember. Get confused between adjectives and adverbs. I'm not going to look it up either. I'm not doing it. You got the little skull crusher pommel possibility there if you need it, or you can put a lanyard down there. I'm really digging this knife. All I've done is honed the edge. I took it on a strop and ran a strop on it, and it's pretty sharp. Now this, my thought behind, if I'm carrying two knives like this, I want this one to be the most sharp, and the one that I'm going to be pulling most of the time. And this one is sharp. A small knife for that, for a little intricate task. And then when you get up here bigger, this one doesn't necessarily have to have a razor edge and laid back, you know, at a fine angle and everything. I like the edge that they put on here. It looks kind of rough and toothy and everything, but that's all right. Like I said, I have not sharpened this yet. I just ran a strop over it, so this is the way it came from the factory. And this finish here, I've seen people take it off before. I'm going to leave it on and see how it does. But you can already see that there was a piece on the tip that had flaked off. I'm trying to get it to focus here. I didn't do that. I didn't try to sharpen or anything, but there's already a little flaking. It's a little flaky. But that's no issue with me. I just like that color tone. You know, the tan. Everything goes with it. This is more like an OD green kind of look to the blade to me. But, yeah, maybe it's tannish. My eyes are going. It's very positive. Where it got me right here with that harpoon, I'm finding that's where you do a lot of your bearing work, you know, up and down. You find out what various pieces of your body do when you damage them. You know, you may just take it for granted what they do. Who needs a little finger? And then you get something in it, and you start thinking, "Wow, man, I use my little finger a lot." Anyways, yeah, I'm digging this knife. I really like it. The reason why I hadn't been buying it, for one, was the price, and the other was that leads me to this, which I saw on SMKW's listing of the specs. Look at that additional info, 84.95. Did they screw up and put their actual cost in there? Because I think that's what that is. I was afraid it was going to be another BK2, you know, and I've got enough of those knives. There's nothing wrong with them, like I said, but it's not something that I EDC. It's not something I carry every day. I carry for a special reason. You know, I don't carry them every day. So, I guess I've rambled on long enough on this. I'm going to use it some more, but I just wanted to point out some of the differences on the sheath and what I might possibly do right here. This won't take much to modify that, and that'll improve that for me. There's not much I can do about this flappy thing. I like it. The advantages and disadvantages are, if you don't use it, it definitely sticks out. You can't just like tuck it, you know. I guess I could snap this behind it. Let's see if this is going to cause any issues. improvising as I speak here. It would make the handle stick out a little bit more, but you know, it might make it easier to grab. I'm going to try it like that. See if that, because then you don't have a whole lot sticking out over here. Why? Getting too many shadows. I got another light up here that I'm using to like do the massive illumination, and I'm just using the camera light on there. But yeah, there you go. Yeah. Some people may not like the shape, and some people may not like the design and everything, but I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm going to try not to get any, this is plastic kind of feeling, G10 or whatever. I might possibly get some micarta handles for this, because I love micarta, because when you get your blood in it, it becomes yours. Or more like the knife gets your blood. So far, this one has not tried to take any chunks out of me yet. But putting it in that sheath, like I said, it takes quite a bit more effort, and it has that noise. You're going to make that noise every time you use that sheath. Now, what's the answer to that? Well, I have leather. I could make leather, or I could try, you know, a different sheath. But really, this is good as far as like, it's everything I would expect out of a Kydex or a polymer type of sheath, you know. But it also has a disadvantage. It has the advantage of no leather rot and all this other stuff. But it has the disadvantage of they're noisy. They're noisy as all get out. It's like you're racking a slide or something. Maybe advantageous, but you know, out in the woods, when you're hunting animals, something like that, it's going to scare most of them off for a little while. And maybe you're wanting to eat one of those. Now you ain't going to be able to eat them because they hurt that. But if you just had a leather sheath and you were able to put it back in, or even this doesn't make much noise. A little bit more noise. Not quite as much. This is not the sheath that the Zua came with. Here's the one. This one's quiet. It's that polymer sheath. Because it's just a friction retention. That's the sheath that came with the SE Azula. But I'm using that one because I like the Kydex. I like the Kydex on this one because I can put the little... all that. Alright, you said you were going to shut up a long time ago, and this says 20 minutes, and I know I've already stopped it once before when I was interrupted. So, there you go. We won't get into specifications and all that. I hope you've enjoyed this little Sunday morning ramble. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.